Imagine this, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, back in the suit, facing the biggest threats yet. A story that was never finished. A film that could have taken the multiverse head-on, reunited Peter with old allies, and finally delivered the Sinister Six like fans have been dreaming for over a decade. But here's the twist. The original scripts had wild ideas. Gwen Stacy's legacy haunting Peter, shocking villains returning, and Peter pushed to his breaking point. The stakes? Not just Oscorp, not just New York, the multiverse itself. Picture this, epic battles, emotional moments we never got to see, and Andrew Garfield's Peter finally getting the closure his story deserved. Fans have imagined it for years, and now we're breaking down exactly how it could have happened. So what villains would appear? Which characters would return? How would it tie into the MCU? And could it have rivaled No Way Home? That's what we're diving into in this video. Before we jump in, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss a single detail. You won't believe what Spider-Man fans almost got. The Amazing Spider-Man 3 wasn't meant to be just another superhero sequel. Sony had plans for a game-changing story, one that would have taken Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man to darker, more emotional, and higher-stakes territory than anything we'd seen before. The story picks up right after Gwen Stacy's tragic death. Peter Parker isn't just mourning, he's questioning himself, his choices, and even whether he has the right to be Spider-Man. This wasn't a story about punching villains. It was about Peter facing his deepest fears and personal demons, testing the limits of his strength, his morality, and his humanity. Fans have called it the Spider-Man we deserved, the one that could have completed his arc in a way that really hits you. But it wasn't all internal drama. Sony's plans included a Sinister Six storyline. Yes, the ultimate villain team up. Imagine Doc Ock, Electro, Green Goblin, and Rhino, all uniting with one goal, to crush Spider-Man. Each villain was designed to challenge him in a different way, emotionally and physically. It wasn't just about throwing punches. Every encounter would have tested Peter's intelligence, his morals, and his resilience. This could have been the most personal and devastating Spider-Man showdown ever put on screen. And there's more. The script reportedly toyed with multiverse ideas, teasing a connection to other Spider-Man stories without fully diving in. This was years before No Way Home, hinting that Spider-Man's story existed in a larger, interconnected universe, opening the door for crossovers, surprises, and cameos we'll never forget. Sony's vision also included new characters and emotional stakes. Fans were excited for potential appearances by Black Cat, a darker Peter struggling with trust and love, and even new heroes or allies who could challenge or inspire him. It was meant to be gritty, emotional, and action-packed all at once, a rare combination that makes superhero stories truly unforgettable. What's heartbreaking is that this story was nearly complete, fully scripted and ready to go, and then it got canceled. We're left with concept art, leaked scripts, and fan speculation, imagining how this lost Spider-Man movie could have been one of the greatest superhero films ever. This wasn't just about the villains or the fights, it was about giving Andrew Garfield the trilogy finale he deserved, about letting Peter Parker face consequences, triumph, and tragedy in ways that felt real, raw, and unforgettable. So in this section, we're diving deep into what Sony planned, what was leaked, and what fans have been dreaming about for over a decade. The story that almost changed Spider-Man history forever. After exploring what Sony originally planned, it's time to dive into the villains that could have rewritten Spider-Man history, the Sinister Six. This wasn't just a random villain team up, this was a masterclass in chaos and personal stakes for Peter Parker. Every member of this team was chosen to test him in ways the world had never seen. Picture this, Green Goblin leading the charge, his obsession with Peter now reaching terrifying new levels. Doc Ock, brilliant, ruthless, and unpredictable, crafting plans that could have torn the city apart while hitting Peter where it hurt the most. His guilt and responsibility. Electro, unstable and charged with raw energy, threatening to bring New York to its knees. Rhino, a near indestructible powerhouse, forcing Peter into fights that pushed him to the edge physically. And Whispers of Mysterio, the ultimate manipulator, playing tricks that could have shattered Peter's mind. Sony's vision didn't stop at just assembling villains. The idea was emotional warfare. Each member of the Six wasn't only a physical threat, They were mirrors to Peter's failures and fears. Imagine Peter facing villains who weren't just out to destroy the city, but to break him emotionally. Every confrontation would have layers, action, suspense, heartbreak, and moral dilemmas. And here's the kicker. These villains were rumored to hint at cross-universe connections, teasing multiverse chaos years before No Way Home. The story could have brought together threads from previous Spider-Man films, subtly tying different worlds together while setting up future Spider-Verse possibilities. The Sinister Six wasn't just about big fights. It was about Peter Parker confronting his past, his losses, and his limits. This storyline could have redefined what a Spider-Man movie could be. High stakes, emotionally charged, and universe-shattering. Fans still imagine how epic it could have been. A Spider-Man pushed to his absolute limits, facing enemies that challenged not just his strength, but his heart. This is the Sinister Six we almost got. Villains that could have changed the Spider-Verse forever. And in the next section, we'll break down who would have survived, who would have fallen, and how this could have set up a Spider-Man story unlike anything we've seen before. If the Sinister Six was the storm, then Green Goblin was the eye of it. Norman Osborn's return wasn't just another villain cameo, as it was a personal nightmare for Peter Parker. Years after his initial reign of terror, Goblin wasn't just back to wreak havoc on the city, he was back to tear Peter's life apart. Sony's plans reportedly had Goblin escalating everything. He wasn't only targeting Spider-Man physically, he was targeting his emotional core. Peter would be forced to face not only the villainous schemes, but also the guilt, grief, and mistakes he carried from Gwen Stacy's death. Every attack, every trap, every citywide catastrophe was designed to push Peter to his absolute limits. And the chaos wasn't small scale. Picture the streets of New York under siege. Cars flying, explosions, civilians trapped, and Peter trying to save everyone while fighting the one enemy who knows him better than anyone else. Goblin wasn't just a threat to Spider-Man, he was a threat to everything Peter loved. Friends, family, and the city itself. Nothing was safe. But here's the twist. Sony's leaked ideas hinted at Goblin manipulating the other villains. He wasn't acting alone. As the leader of the Sinister Six, Goblin orchestrated a chain of chaos where every villain's attack hit Peter at different levels, physically, mentally, and emotionally. He wasn't just a fighter, he was a strategist, a puppet master, and the ultimate psychological adversary. This version of the Green Goblin could have changed the tone of Spider-Man movies forever. Dark, intense, and personal. Fans imagine battles that aren't just epic on screen, but heart-wrenching in story. Peter fighting for New York while battling the man who haunted his past, trying to protect everything he holds dear. The return of Green Goblin wasn't just about destruction, it was about Peter Parker facing his greatest fear and greatest enemy at once. And this chaos set the stage for an unforgettable climax with the Sinister Six, leaving fans dreaming about what could have been for over a decade. After diving into the villains and lost storylines, it's time to answer the big question. Why did Sony and Marvel cancel The Amazing Spider-Man 3 and start fresh with a new Spider-Man? The truth starts with The Amazing Spider-Man 2. While it had flashes of brilliance, Andrew Garfield's emotional Peter, thrilling action, and Gwen Stacy's heartbreaking arc, it underperformed critically and financially. Critics called it overstuffed and ambitious to a fault, and fans felt the emotional payoff wasn't fully delivered. Sony had invested heavily in the trilogy, and the mixed results made them nervous about continuing the series. But the issues weren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. The scripts for ASM3 were reportedly dark, complex, and risky. They included Sinister Six, multiverse hints, and emotionally heavy storylines that would have challenged audiences and required a massive budget. For a summer blockbuster, that was a huge gamble. Sony wanted a sure hit, and continuing the same universe with all its baggage seemed uncertain. Enter Marvel Studios. Around this time, the MCU was exploding, and Kevin Feige saw an opportunity. By partnering with Sony, they could bring Spider-Man into the MCU, integrate him with the Avengers, and reboot the character in a way that appealed to a wider global audience. This wasn't just smart business, it was a chance to give Spider-Man a bigger stage than he ever had. Thus, a new Spider-Man was born, Tom Holland's Peter Parker. Younger, lighter, and fully embedded in the MCU, this new iteration allowed Marvel and Sony to tell stories tied to Civil War, Infinity War, and No Way Home. Meanwhile, Andrew Garfield's Peter got his emotional closure later in No Way Home, giving fans the best of both worlds without risking a costly ASM3 production. Ultimately, ASM 3 wasn't just cancelled because of one reason. It was a perfect storm of financial caution, critical concerns, and creative ambition, combined with the opportunity to reboot Spider-Man into the MCU, where he could thrive in new universe-spanning stories. Fans may never get the full ASM 3 movie, but the decision gave the Spider-Man franchise a fresh start, massive audience, and creative freedom, and allowed Garfield's Peter to live on in multiverse form, giving us the what-could-have-been moments that still excite fans today. From the lost plans of ASM 3, the emotional stakes, the Sinister Six, Green Goblin's chaos, to Doc Ock's masterful schemes, we've seen the Spider-Man movie that never was, a universe fans have dreamed about for over a decade. While the film never hit theaters, its ideas live on in fan theories, multiverse cameos, and the hearts of Spider-Man fans everywhere. Imagine what could have been. A darker, deeper, more intense trilogy that gave Andrew Garfield's Peter the ending he deserved. But the story isn't over. Spider-Man continues to evolve in the MCU, and the door is always open for surprises, crossovers, and what-if moments that could bring these lost visions to life. If you love diving into the lost world of ASM 3, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we're breaking down all the Spider-Verse secrets, leaks, and fan theories you cannot miss. And comment below, which villain or storyline do you wish we actually got to see in ASM 3? Let's talk about it. Remember, the Spider-Verse is bigger than we think, and who knows what could appear next.